Imagine starting a website, first a newspaper and then a website about sports in Boston, and then in the blink of an eye becoming a major cultural figure. That happened to Dave Portnoy. The country's benefited from it. The question is, how exactly did that happen, and what are the lessons for the rest of us? Dave Portnoy joins us on set to explain this kind of amazing thing that you've become. Thanks a lot, Dave Portnoy, for coming.
Glad to be here.
So for the four of our viewers who aren't familiar with who you are, our producers put together a 1 and 14-second best of montage that we're going to open this segment with to kind of set the table for Dave Portnoy. Here it is.
They worship him like a third world dictator and even call him El Presidente.
Is that glitter on your eyes?
I don't see the point of that question. I think this is done.
We're going to a nearby park. We're going to run the 40. It's the World Gerbil Show. I'd love to meet a grand champion if they're here. Stunning gerbil.
Well, Dave Portnoy is known to millions as El Presidente, not the president of a country, but instead of a mindset.
I'm so far over my head right now. No. Boom! Sumo wrestling with USA Sumo. Smashed it. And the big bad bully wins again.
Someone's going down. The NFL is scared. They don't know what to do. They know I'm not going to leave the wall.
And I'm not going to let it die. I made that vow to myself and to our legions and legions of fans.
Well, it's a clown face towel because Goodell is a clown and a fraud and a criminal, so we're handing out 70,000 towels. I think it'll be like a high watermark for Barstool.
Brady, Belichick, Portnoy.
I believe Barstool Sports is better at what we do. Over the past 10 years, we're funnier, smarter, better, prettier than everybody else who is stealing our shtick on the internet.
Talent.
He put us in a unique spot.
Dave Portnoy and I chatting underneath the clip you just saw. It's great to have you here. So give us, I think some of our viewers will know the story very well. It's kind of a legend at this point, but you start out in Boston. You are a proud chowderhead. You decide we need to cover Boston sports even more deeply than it's being covered, which was more deeply than any sports scene in the world. And you start this newspaper, it becomes a website, and then you wind up like the person that you are. How'd that happen?
Geez. It's not overnight. It's 20 years almost that we've been doing this. Essentially, I started out handing newspapers. I knew I wanted to try my own thing. It was a business idea from the get-go. And as you say, Boston sports was covered, but from an angry perspective. What I mean by that, the guy who covered the Red Sox, Dan Shaughnessy, for example. Famously, but he would root against the Red Sox. He was happy when they were miserable, not the fan perspective. And I kind of thought maybe there was a angle there, a vertical. Bill Simmons was exploding at the time, Boston guy, and I thought there was something there. So I started from a business perspective, newspaper, and it was, I had 10 aliases. So I was the sales guy, I was the writer, distribution, all fake names. It was just, I wanted to do something that I would enjoy. I didn't want to work for somebody else. I didn't care if I made 60 grand a year. I would wake up, work 24 hours a day for myself. So that's how it started.
Wait, can I just pause you right there? As I do my psychological study of you and of your life. So your key insight was the people who are supposed to be serving the fans were actually rooting against them.
And that was 100% a fact. And it was in every sport in Boston. Ron Borges covered the Patriots. He was happy when they lost. Shaughnessy's an example. So they weren't covering it the way that a typical fan roots, dies for the team. It was almost like they were dancing on a grave when they did bad.
So nobody was serving the interests of the people who were paying them.
Correct. And talking as a normal fan. Now, I've had my issues with Bill Simmons in the past, but there's no dispute to me. He's one of the great sport writers who identifies with the fan, and the history of journalism changed the whole game. He couldn't get a job at the Boston Globe. He applied, did not get a job. That's why he went on his own. And the internet started to evolve at this point, so it gave guys like him and me a voice. But it says that there was this need for it, this thirst for it. So we started this newspaper, Barstool Sports, and it just slowly evolved over time. What started as gambling and sports and as what I would say guys sitting around a bar talking about anything that a guy would talk about watching a game, whether it's sports, girls, entertainment, you name it, it slowly just morphed over the course of the years. We would follow what people said they liked. We'd pivot quickly, and it was just word of mouth.
So what's so interesting is, I'm not a Simmons fan, but I'll acknowledge the guy's a very good writer.
Spectacular
He's
writer.
a very talented person, whatever you think of him. You're obviously a talented person. You're a great communicator. You've got a way with words. We're in the word business. So the Boston sports establishment kept out people who are more talented than they are.
Correct. And they got fat and happy. There was a powerhouse radio station, WEEI. It was the #1 sports talk radio station in the country. They had the Boston Globe. They had a monopoly, basically, on how people got their information, their news, whatever it may be in sports. And prior to the internet, there was no way to compete versus that. Like somebody like myself or Simmons would have to get hired by these media outlets to be heard. The internet was the great equalizer because you could get your voice heard, and if you were talented and funny enough or interesting enough, you could create an audience without needing them, and it leveled the playing field. It really did.
How interesting. So you start this thing, it starts to explode. It becomes, in the end, it's obviously much more popular than the Boston Globe, which was sold for like $30.
Yeah, I would say by the time I left Boston, which was around 6 years ago, Barstool Sports was the most impactful, powerful media outlet in Boston.
Across the board.
Across the board. There was nothing else that that had our voice, influence, impact. Nothing. I always say, there's like when people think the celebrity Boston fan, a long time it's Affleck and it's Matt Damon, and I used to say that's what the outside world thinks. If you actually want to be a real Boston sports fan, act like you know what's going on, you'd have Barstool Sports there because that's what everyone was reading. It was everywhere.
I remember that. My college roommate's from Boston.
And that's how it spread. Every time, if I asked somebody, hey, how'd you hear about Barstool? It was a transplant Bostonian who told their roommate, their friend, their buddy. It slowly just spread across the country, all from Boston people.
I don't follow Boston sports, but he sent me links and said, you're not that interested in the Red Sox. You should read this. And
correct, and we morphed beyond it. So, like, I remember one of the most famous articles we ever had at the beginning. It was State Street Bank. They offered voluntary, I think, early retirement, basically, and they got swamped by how many people actually accepted it. And it was an article on State Street Bank and how they were a failure, basically. And I'm sitting handing the newspaper out in the financial district outside the shadows of State Street Bank. So it wasn't just sports; it was everything. It was stories about guys going to a Playboy golf tournament or a wedding. It was anything a guy. It was almost like a localized Maxim in a way.
But it was about guys. That was your audience.
The early
was
ashamed
guys. Of that.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I've always said, and we've had this debate all throughout the time at Barstool, because from a business perspective, you always want a larger audience. And if you can capture it, you can capture it. We talked about what I knew, which was, young guys, young middle-class white guys who like sports. I always said, listen, does Seinfeld try to go get a different audience than they have, or are they happy with their audience and they can monetize it? Now, as we've grown, we've gotten bigger, but we started with what we knew, really, and that's what it was.
Smart. So as you get bigger, you, in the end, defeat the monopoly on sports coverage in Boston. And then there's the national monopoly on sports coverage, which is ESPN, and they, of course, come to you and they want a piece of your success. What happens next?
So as we grew, we continued to take market share basically from everybody. And we go through a cycle, and we went through it in Boston, where at first people are like, oh, they're a joke. They're just bloggers in their parents' basement. They're not a threat. You grow, you grow, you grow. And slowly you become accepted, and people get advertising, everything like that. We went through that on a national scale. And we were early with podcasting. We had a podcast called Part of My Take. And it was kind of a spoof on some of the ESPN stuff. It exploded, became the #1 podcast for sports in the country. Two wildly talented guys who work for us, Dan Katz, Big Cat, who's been with me forever, and PFT Commenter. So this exploded.
And who?
PFT Commenter, that was his name. So
why was he called that?
So he got his name. There was a website, Pro Football Talk, and he was just a commenter in that website. And he was so unique and talented, he became known from just being a commenter, and his profile grew. And I think he worked for SB Nation at the time, who was paying him peanuts, and we hired him from them. He became a huge star with us. So these two, they took.
Do you know his real name?
I do. Off the top, and this became a thing too. I know so many of my guys. It's like my Adderall's not kicked in that his name's, what the hell is his name?
PFT Commenter sounds good. I like that.
No, he does go by an alias that actually got exposed by Deadspin because they didn't like him. He tried to keep it an alias. Whatever. I'll get back to it. It'll come back to me. Back to the main part of this story. The podcast explodes, and ESPN approaches us about building a TV show around Part of My Take. And we come to a deal with them. It was an interesting time in Barstool Sports history because Dan and PFT were exploding. and I didn't want to like limit their growth. ESPN's a huge channel. They go on. We had negotiations. I was never comfortable in these negotiations. I thought they wanted to test drive these two. Hey, let's see if they do well on ESPN, and then we'll offer them a huge contract and try to steal them from Barstool. That was my vibe, but we worked out a deal because, again, Dan had been with me forever, and PFT, it seemed like something as the right thing to do for them was to give them this opportunity. So we do the show. It's a year in the making. The first episode airs, and Sam Ponder, who works there, I made fun of her 3 years in the past with Dan on a podcast. She was on College Game Day. This is a long, windy story. She's on College Game Day. She had a newborn child on there, her baby, and she's holding it. I went on a rant how I didn't want to see the baby on the show. 3 years prior, she held on to this and then complained the day after the show aired, saying this is who you're doing business with. And basically, a few women revolted against us at ESPN, caused a huge stir. They canceled the show. So one episode, I still think the only show in the history of maybe television to air and be canceled after one episode. But we were.
Because one person complained because you made fun of her 3 years before.
Correct. And to her credit, whether I want to say credit or not, I saw her at a restaurant probably 6 months ago, never interacted with her, never talked to her since then. We thought we reached out. She did kind of ambush me at the restaurant, which I like, I respect. It's like, if you have a problem with me, get in my face and let's talk about it. That's how I operate. We hashed it out for about an hour. She said some things that I'm not 100% sure I believe. I said my point of view. We went our separate ways. It is what it is. But John Skipper, who was the CEO of ESPN at the time, or the guy who ran it, was quoted. Nobody told us they're canceling, but we find out by press release.
Yeah, they never do.
Never do. And his quote that's stuck in my brain, I didn't realize Barstool Sports Van Talk, the name of the show, Barstool Van Talk, would be associated with Barstool Sports. The dumbest quote in the history of mankind. So
Skipper's gone now.
Skipper's gone. Not only is he gone, after he canceled the show in a very Dave Portnoy move, my enemies, I put Ace of Spades, bottles of champagne. You probably could pull this move, Tucker. I have bottles lined up, engraved with the names of my enemies. So after he did that, John Skipper got a bottle. Whether God's watching over me or what, people say maybe yes, maybe no. About 3 weeks later, he resigned, or a month later, from ESPN because he said he was getting blackmailed for a cocaine habit. Now, the story behind him on what he says happened is so shady, because he's like, he used a new Coke dealer and the Coke dealer was gonna blackmail him. Crazy, whatever. The long story short, we went on one of our shows. I had the bottle of champagne, I popped it, and we drank the champagne to his demise. So, I got my revenge. And there's certain things you say that I regret saying, sort of. I don't apologize, but what Sam Ponder got mad about, it was two guys who were honestly talking. She's a beautiful woman at the time on ESPN College Game Day, and I was ranting and raving. Nobody wants to see your baby on College Game Day. As young guys, they want to see you, not the kid. That's the rant. I used profane language. I wish I didn't, but there was no ill will. I didn't even know I said it until she re-brought it up. But I say a lot of things, and it is what it is. Barstool Sports is guys talking about the world in a locker room atmosphere. We open the lights, we turn it on, and people who follow me know we don't pick on anybody more than another person. I make fun of myself, we make fun of each other. That's what it is. You can pick things out, and if you're mad about it, you're mad about it. But that was the end of our brief tenure with ESPN. It helped us in our business process because a lot of people look internally like, you know what? If you work at Barstool, you're Barstool. You may think the people who don't like us, you can wash it away. You can't. It's us versus the world, and it kind of reinforced that mentality within our own doors.
That's the reality, unfortunately, right now.
Correct.
There is no general interest media outlet at all.
There isn't. And I always say, and I said it to ESPN, and I've said it to every single person I've done business with, know what you're getting in bed with. I stand by it. I believe in my moral fiber. I believe in the moral fiber and ethics of everybody we hire. But people are going to say stuff about us. Know it's coming. Before you get involved with us, know it's coming, because we'll never have a problem. I don't think you'll ever be ashamed by anything we say, but there's people who do not like us, and they're going to make us stink. And if you don't have, the backbone, the courage, or even the interest in getting involved in this, and I get it, know it before you make the decision to basically handshake with us. That's all I ask of our partners.
So it's just interesting. It's actually fascinating why you're so hated. The site is not political. I mean, the one guy I knew worked there had the opposite politics of mine.
Yep.
But his politics weren't the point. It's not a political site. It never has been. So why do they hate you so much?
I think there's a combo of stuff like that, and we aren't political. But if you ask people what our politics are, they're going to say we're very conservative. Now I've played into that, and I understand doing this interview with you. If they see me sitting with you.
We've done a lot of interviews. We've never talked about politics. I don't even know what your politics are.
Ever.
And I'm not interested.
And people don't listen to the interview. They just don't. They'll see it and they associate. I interviewed Trump, and I think he broke a lot of people's brains. They didn't listen to that interview or what I asked them in that interview. It's just association. And it's strange. But
they hated you long before you interviewed Trump, long before you came on this show.
It reinforces their values. So the way I see it, and this is going to be a little bit of down memory lane. So Barstool started in 2004. I never heard a word about any of the things the haters will say, which is sexist, racist, anti-Semitic, I'm Jewish. I haven't heard, none of it. For 6 years, it just didn't cross our radar. We did a concert tour in 2010 called the Barstool Blackout Tour. How it started was an advertiser wanted to get in front of frat kids. There was a fantasy football site, said, we need people to sign up. Do you have a way to do it? And we created, basically, we would throw parties at frats. Why do we call it the Blackout Tour? Because we bought 10 black lights. We threw it in a truck, and so the logo was just a plug going into an outlet. Kids wear white, and they glow. It's a pretty common, college party. This thing blew up, became very popular. And we started selling out venues. We're renting them. In Boston, we sold out House of Blues, I think 10 nights in a row in under a minute. And what we did in Boston, we said, hey, Tuesday nights BC, Wednesday nights BU, Thursday nights Tufts. So we're going to all the colleges, and they'd go. Northeastern. We were going to Northeastern, and there was a group of girls called KO Barstool. And they didn't like us, and they didn't like this event. And they started a protest. And they went back and they looked at everything I had ever written or said over the past 6 years. Now, keep in mind, I used to write a new blog, a blog post being a little article. I would write one every single day, every 30 minutes. So I had thousands and thousands of posts. They went back 6 years prior and found an article I wrote, a blog, which was supposed to be funny, about a rape case in Australia. And this is one of the, when people have a problem with me, I know the hit list of the things I've said. I can almost say, here it is, want to go through each one. In this case, there was a rape case in Australia, and the judge acquitted the defendant because they said the girl was wearing size 6 skinny jeans, and you can't get skinny jeans off without consent. That was verbatim the actual judge. And I wrote a quick blog, didn't think much of it. I wrote the same tone I write everything, which is, I don't know about this, but if you're wearing size 6 skinny jeans, you kind of deserve to be raped in the first place. Now, where I failed, I thought size 6 was like size 20. I had my measurements screwed up. I wasn't on top of that. But it was the type of phrasing I use pretty consistently, meaning this guy, I don't know about this, but this guy deserves to get murdered. I don't know about this, but this guy deserves cancer. I'd written it a million times. They took this article and it became big news. They went to the school, they went to every outlet saying basically Dave Portnoy condones rape. And I never backed down. I never backed down from it. And from that point on, I ended up on Inside Edition. This is a clip that people still use right now where the reporter asked me, do you realize how offensive this is? And my answer was, no, I do not, because if I did, I wouldn't have made the joke. Which I wouldn't. I'm not trying to offend people. I'm trying to be funny. And if I realized openly something's offensive, I wouldn't do it. I don't think rape's funny. I don't condone it. We have a long history. You have to be a psycho too. I made a joke 6 years ago. You're trying to roast me for now. And I never backed down.
So when this happened, you were pretty young. The business wasn't huge. You didn't, people weren't sending you $100 million to grow it. You just owned it, right?
Correct, yes.
So why didn't you just apologize and sign the confession like they wanted you to?
I did the opposite.
Yeah, why'd you do that?
Northeastern held a rally against me because we had a concert the same night. I showed up at the rally and asked to speak in front of, 500 people who really hated my guts. And I said, I'll go explain because I'm on your side. Like anybody who's pro domestic abuse, violence, rape, there's nobody who's going to be more against that than I am. I made a joke. I'll explain it. They screamed in my face and would not let me talk.
Wow.
I can't, and even some of their own people during that were like, that wasn't the right way to handle it. He showed up like willing to try to talk to you guys and explain it, and you didn't want to hear it. In my nature, I cannot apologize just to move on. I can't do it. It makes me sick, and I'd rather, even at this point, go down with the ship rather than truly just say something to move on that I don't think I did anything wrong. And when I say didn't do anything wrong, I have no problem people who want to take offense to that joke, but you can't say I was trying to do it of ill will because I don't, because I make light of it. I was trying to be funny like I've tried to be with every subject, and I almost think the fact that they had to read every blog I'd written for 6 years and found one thing that they had a problem with, I will not bow down to that. I didn't from that point, but that changed the course of Barstool.
Does it occur to you that your refusal to apologize for something you didn't think you should have to apologize for is kind of the reason you're successful?
100%. It's our greatest blessing and our greatest curse. It strengthens the people who like us. And, we've had it all. I remember the part of my take, that podcast I just described that was growing. I believe as the New York Times came into an expose on them and basically talk about their growth, they didn't really know about me. And the article sort of changed as they realized how big they were from them to kind of Barstool and myself. And a quote that stuck out to me was, this reporter had a lot of friends in the Northeast who had been following me at this point for almost a decade. And a quote was, there's a lot of people I have who I consider liberal, educated, highly educated people. And when I ask, do you like Barstool? They're all like, yeah, we love it. And I ask, how is that possible? And they say, we know who Dave is. We've been following him for 10 years. So that's why when you mention politics, we have both sides.
I noticed.
It's easy to pick and choose, but our course of history is written. And it's also, luckily, at this point, I know how real and strong our audience is. It's been, I always say brick by brick, but it really is. We have a very strong foundation, and they're not going anywhere. So I'm not going to let the winds of political change or whatever it is change how we look at the world.
So that's why I find it fascinating. I mean, it's not, I work in the political commentary business. It's not surprising to me when people hate me or Rachel Maddow or someone else who got strong political views. Like, that's baked into the cake. The hatred for you, who is almost like intentionally non-political, and you don't seem very political as a person, I can smell it.
Yep.
Is fascinating because I think it's so much deeper. And my theory is they hate the fact that you're unapologetic about appealing to men. I used to work at Esquire, which was a men's magazine, and then it devolved into a magazine for people who hated being men or embarrassed of being men or didn't want to be men. I don't know what it became, but it became something that was kind of anti-men.
I have a question, Mother. Can I take this out?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to take this out?
Yeah.
All right,
but
sorry.
You haven't done that, and you're not against women, obviously, but you're okay with being read by men. So why is that so offensive?
It shouldn't be. And again, even people don't do any research. If you're true to yourself, there's nothing wrong with being a man. And we always, for example, a feature of our website used to be Smoke Show of the Day. Still kind of is.
I remember it.
A local girl we'd feature on the website. We would ask permission. We'd be like, hey, we want to feature you. We take pictures they'd already posted on their social media and post it. People got mad about that. To me, it's lunacy. And it obviously has shifted more. It's just so much hypocrisy. Like Sports Illustrated, we'd have people from them criticize us. It's like, have you looked at your own magazine, the swimsuit issue or anything like that? It's just very hypocritical. And even we actually, in our early days, we had a site called Stoolala. So we had Barstool Sports, and I found a very talented female called Jenna Mori. She went on to become one of the most popular YouTube stars basically ever, like a forerunner. She was so good, we launched our own site. So on one site, we had Smoke Show of the Day, which is a pretty girl. She was doing Smoke Bro of the Day, a handsome guy. But no one cares about that. They zero in on what they want to zero in on.
So the attacks against you have been so intense and personal that, has it changed your life? Has it changed your attitude? Has it changed you.
It hasn't. I always remember, and it goes to what you've said before. We have been built and have benefited in a way because the counterculture who likes us feels emboldened. They stick with us stronger. And so there's good and there's bad.
But has it made you paranoid and angry?
No, because you know what? When I go out in the street, 99% of the people I see are super friendly, and the people who don't like me, I probably won't like them first. To me, they're losers. They're crazy people. I mean, some of the people who truly don't like me, I see what they say, and I see what they react to, and it's like, this person doesn't have an ounce of a sense of humor in their lives. The Office, my favorite show of all time.
Yeah.
All time. Steve Carell said he didn't think that show would be able to be made now. The jokes they made wouldn't pass. So, that's sad, but I wouldn't say it makes me paranoid. It's sad more than anything. And even doing shows like this show, one of the things I think a lot of people who hate me don't do, which I've done, is I do research. I see, just because somebody says something about a person or whatever, I go back and see, I'll dig into it rather than just trusting somebody. We have probably 4 to 6 articles that have been written about me that if I read them without knowing myself and just trusted it, I'd be like, this guy's the next Hitler. I would honestly believe that if I read it. But I'm the central character, so I know the context, I know everything. So I do that for everything I'm involved in.
Same thing happened to me. Denounced as a white supremacist for quoting Martin Luther King. That's when you realize it's not really real. Well, what's Deadspin? You referred to Deadspin.
Oh, that's like the worst website that ever lived. It literally is. It's the most. And there's a lot of things. There's certain people who, if they don't like me, I can respect it if they're consistent. Deadspin was a site that's been around since I've been around, and they've done things that I would never do, and it was kind of similar to us in respect, and then it slowly morphed into what I would say is the least fun, most moral superiority complex, even though their past is so sordid, and they feel like they're the moral authority, I guess, on the world. They also went bankrupt for posting an illegal sex video. Then they went bankrupt because they can't get advertising. They have no fan base, but they just throw arrows. They've kind of been defeated, but for a while, they would write articles and people would take it as fact. It would be like your arch enemy getting quoted as though everybody should have to say, and I do actually, if you hate somebody, there should have to be a little disclaimer. Oh, by the way, I despise this person.
Well,
so
of course.
Take everything I just said with knowing that.
Or love someone. You can't cover your own girlfriend.
Correct.
Right? And you
Yes.
can't cover your arch enemy. I mean, I was an editor. I assigned people to cover things. Too much emotion makes it invalid.
There was one, for example, one girl there in particular, young college girl, and I had been doing this thing for 15 years, got hired. I'm not even going to say her name, but she became one of my enemies. She would trash me so much. Never acknowledge her. Not once. Didn't say a word about her. But she was getting more and more personal with me to the point I thought she was in the arena. I thought she was in the circus of trying to get page views. And I wrote an article, a blog, and I quoted Seinfeld. There's an episode of Seinfeld where George Costanza, a woman hates him so much that he was essentially, anybody who hates me this much, I kind of like. I wrote the same article, included the video clip of Costanza saying it, and they said I was sexually harassing her. It's like, what world can't you see that is a joke?
Isn't it weird how the most aggressive people become the victims the most quickly?
And that is social media 101. That is a thing that has gotten us in trouble consistently through the years. It's something even within our own company, people are divided on how to handle it. I have always been, if you throw an unprovoked punch at us, and it's personal and it's deep, it is not my job to protect you on social media. I won't say anything over the line, but if I say, prove it, debate me, this is, crap, not true, people in our crowd go after them, and then I get blamed for it, and I've never seen it that way. I refuse to see it that way. Now, do I want our crowd to be idiots and go over the line? Of course not, but you can't throw a punch on Twitter and then scream for privacy. That I've never understood.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
But that's what they always say.
So Barstool gets huge, you become this major figure, then Corona hits, and all of a sudden you find yourself, and you chose to be really, at the center of the biggest national debate, and it's about how do we respond to the lockdowns. I want to play a clip. This is from last May. I think you posted this on Twitter. Here's about a minute. Here it is.
What the is going on?
When did this become flatten the curve, flatten the curve, flatten the curve to we have to find a cure or everyone's going to die? Like Fauci. Seems like a nice enough dude. I've always been like, oh, no agenda. Looks like he could be maybe the grandfather in Wedding Crashers. Gets in front of the Senate. He's like, if we reopen the country too quick, everyone's dead. Where'd that come from? Find a cure? Who says we're going to find a cure? We haven't found a cure to cancer. It took AIDS 20 years or whatever. Do we even have a cure? So the economy just shut down? All we've heard forever, flatten the curve, make sure there's hospital beds. We're there. Now all of a sudden it's like a 180. This is like taking a cross-country flight, 6 hours. They tell you flight 6 hours. 5 hours and a half go by. They get on the intercom like, oh, just kidding. We have another 10 hours. You can't do that. People have been mentally preparing. We're doing what you ask. We've done exactly what you said. Now you're changing the rules.
So you made, I think, a completely supportable point, a pretty obvious point, which are always the best ones, like, wait, what is this? But you probably had to know, as you said that, you're in a different place, you're in a different arena the second you weigh in on something like that.
Yeah, 100%. It was something I felt passionate about, and, it continued throughout Corona with the lockdowns and how it affects business. But I felt passionate about it. So it was such a central issue and clearly something nobody had ever seen in our lifetime. I just was passionate about it.
How did your readers respond, your viewers?
I think most of them were supportive, but they're all over the map on it. I think mostly our readers want us to stay out of the political arena. That's not why they come to Barstool. They're coming to Barstool to laugh and talk about whatever it may be. But this was a weird year, and there were certain things you just couldn't avoid, and this was one of them in my mind.
So the most interesting to me was watching you swoop in to raise money for, give money to, and support businesses that were being crushed. Interesting because kind of not your job.
Right.
And you could argue it is the job of the companies that have grown really huge during lockdowns, but they didn't do it. It fell to you to do it. We've got video of you calling a small business owner to basically announce you're saving their business. Here it is.
What's going on? Is this Kevin?
Oh my God, thank you so much for calling. I was having such a bad day. Oh, Dave, I was having a bad day. Thank you so much for calling.
We want to make sure, you stick around when this thing's over, so we want to help you out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm calling. I got your video and your story about Miko Sushi. We want to help you guys out.
Oh, holy cow. Thank you. That's amazing. I have to say, I am so overwhelmed right now because I just got done praying. I said, Lord, please let Dave call this week. I said, because we are really, really having a hard time here.
That is really cool. So explain what you did, the scope of it.
So essentially, New York, what was it, around December-ish probably, closed indoor dining again for restaurants. I was in New York at the time, and it just, I went on one of the rants, which I'm prone to do. I didn't know how they were going to survive because they're not getting the money and you're not allowing them to serve customers. So there is no other outcome, and there's already boards all over. And I went on that rant and was challenged basically, hey, buddy, put your money where your mouth is. So I thought about it and said, all right, we'll do that. I put in $500,000 of my own money, and I challenged all our readers, as well as maybe celebrities I became friends with, acquaintances, donate to this fund. And if you're a small business and you need money, basically, I was saying to bridge the gap, to get to warm weather, contact us, and we'll try to help as many people or small businesses as we can to make sure they don't go out of business. We're looking for essentially businesses that did their best to keep their employees on payroll and businesses that had proven track records. So, you were successful for 10 years. The only thing that happened was Corona. That's the only reason that's changing. Assuming once the country opens, you'll be successful again. And we were able to raise about $40 million, help tons of businesses, and it was moving. And, it was one of those things. There's so much crap going on in the world, and specifically U.S., and so divided and divisive. There was nobody who should be against this. It was weird. It didn't matter, Democrat, Republican. We're just helping small businesses. And even though it was common sense that small businesses were dying, because it had to be, once people started seeing the faces on those videos, I really think it just motivated, and the money was coming in fast and furious, and we were able to help a lot of people. And it was, I get congratulated for it. I was happy we could do it. We were just kind of the conduit. But it was something that I'm proud that we were able to help with.
You run a sports website, but here you started your own aid program.
Correct, yeah.
So where's this where's this going?
Well, we've done charity throughout the history at Barstool. When there's causes that happen, like I was in Boston when the Boston Marathon bombing happened, we raised $250,000 to get a guy a new house. We were much smaller at the time. The shooting in Orlando, the nightclub shooting, we raised money for that. So anytime really that I was in Boston, New York, that a police officer was slain, we'd raise money for the family. So we've always done charity, and this was something, there's help. We can help. And we jumped in. It's funny because since that, and it definitely rose, I think, my profile and notoriety. And I don't know if people are serious or not. They're like, run for office, do this. I would never do that because you can't get anything done. Like, it's fairly disgusting in my mind that the government didn't do something far earlier. And
since they caused it.
They caused it, and it's not that hard. Like, it took me 24 hours to come up with this concept and put it in motion and go. Everyone should want to help small businesses. So it was disheartening to see the government not do anything. I'm glad we could help a little bit. And it wasn't myself. Guy Fieri was another guy who raised about $25 million. We teamed up. We helped. People want to help. People wanted leaders to help. They really did.
And none were.
No, nobody was coming out.
So you'd never run for office?
I would never run for office ever in a bazillion years. There's so many different things. I like my life. I don't want to hate my life.
It's true.
I don't need that headache. And to be honest, they don't get anything done. They just sit there and they yell at each other, and everything is so political and so agenda driven. Even if there is somebody, regardless of party, who has the most ideal, pure, motivations, I don't think they can get anything done. I really don't.
I think you're right.
And it's sad. But the political party is broken.
So maybe the rest of us have to act outside of that structure.
Seems that way. Private business, ironically, but private business was helping other businesses, really.
What's sports betting about? You're in the sports betting business now.
Yeah. So Barstool actually started, its roots were gambling. It was sports, fantasy, gambling.
I love that you call it gambling.
Yeah, it was
not gaming.
Well, it's gambling. Yeah, gambling, however you want to look at it. I actually flew out to casinos before I started Barstool to find out, could I get involved in this industry, because I enjoyed it and I wanted to do something I enjoyed. So about, a year and a half, 2 years ago, the laws in the United States changed where sports gambling, which was prior only legal in Las Vegas, became legal everywhere. It became a state issue, exactly like marijuana. So state by state, you can decide whether it's legal. That was very good for Barstool because we have this huge audience. Our roots were in gambling, and a company called Penn National Gaming, which was the largest regional casino operator, they were going to get into the online gambling, but they didn't have a recognizable brand. So they came to us, and they bought an interest in us, and we became kind of their customer-facing brand, so Barstool Sportsbook. So if you're in Michigan, Illinois, Pennsylvania, you can bet on sports through us. Slowly, we'll be everywhere, and you'll be able to bet with Barstool Sports. So it was a very good moment for us. It was a good moment for me financially, and that's really my main focus almost right now with Barstool, is expanding the Barstool Sports footprint, Barstool Sportsbook.
Do you bet?
I do, poorly.
How have you done over time?
No, terrible. Nobody wins gambling. I'm one of the few.
Is that right?
I am one of the.
Is this like Anheuser-Busch telling me not to drink?
Well, no, because I want you to gamble. It's fun. Gamble responsibly. But I may be one of the few who actually have come out ahead because of this deal. Like, usually you don't. The house always wins. That's a statement that's not false. That's true.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to say that if you're the house.
Listen, we tell it how it is. Enjoy it, do it responsibly. In the end, the house always wins. That's just a fact.
So what about Wall Street? You got locked in your apartment for a year, and you spent an awful lot of time day trading.
So essentially, we did this deal for the sports book. In my focus, the casino deal. And I was gearing up, hey, we're going to start promoting the crap out of this. Sports gambling, this is the future. And then Corona hits, and sports stop. So I looked around, I said, what am I going to do now? Well, gambling day trading, stock market, despite what the suits on Wall Street say, it's a form of gambling. That's all it is. So I just said, all right, I'm gonna start day trading a little bit. I'm gonna put a live camera on me so people will see me do it in real time. I wore a suit. I had a little bell day one. I said, like Davey Wall Street. I forget what I called it. Whatever office name I gave it. And right away, people gravitated towards it. Now, I was gambling, lots of money. I'm losing, I'm winning. They're seeing my real reaction in real time. And it just caught on. And I started doing it every day. I wake up at the beginning of the stock market, and then I go live at the end. And in a very Barstool fashion, it just took off. The seminal moment that probably made, I call it Davey Day Trader Global. That's the name of my firm. But what probably made it take off is at one point I'm getting killed, just killed. And by the way, like the CNBCs and the Fox businesses, they loved when I was getting killed. It was like, the new guy stinks, he's getting killed. Let's have him on the air and talk about how stupid he is. And I played along and I went with it. It was good airtime. And then I said, I'm gonna buy all the airlines. Like Spirit was $7, Delta, they're all getting killed because you can't travel. And I said, we fly in this country. I bought the cruise ships like Norwegian, and we cruise in this country. I said all that. So I made this big rant, and like 5 minutes after I did it, Warren Buffett said, get out on all the airlines and cruises. He cut his losses, he lost billions. So I do this big speech that say buy. 5 minutes later, he does this speech that says sell. And obviously I played into it. I go, don't listen to that guy. He's over the hill. Don't do what he's doing. Well, somehow, airlines and cruises, the second I did that speech, it went like that. So he looked stupid, I looked smart, and I started kind of taunting him. Like, I'm the captain now. And all these serious financial, outlets, media things started publishing that I think I'm better than Warren Buffett. From then on, people were paying attention.
Has he called you for advice on investing?
Oh, yeah, maybe he should. Maybe he should. And again, people ask me things like, do you think you're smarter than Warren Buffett? I think Warren Buffett's 140 years old, so I hope I'm sharper than he is at this point. I mean, he's got a great career. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's 100. So, and people don't totally get my tone. I do these, I'm live streaming half an hour in the morning, half an hour at night. I'm going on these crazy rants. I was treating the stock market like how people treat sports. We're making hype videos and using the internet, which all these stuffy Wall Street people had never done. They'd never seen it. They never, experienced it. I was calling them out. I was trash talking them, and we became our own thing. Now, the Wall Street Journal came out with an article the other day, said I'm one of the most influential, stock market people there is. So it's been a wild
ride. Did the
ride.
SEC show up at your house?
No, because I always say, don't follow me. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you my opinion. And by the way, simultaneously, Penn, which is a publicly traded company, had just about the best stock year of any. When Penn did the deal with Barstool, it was $26 stock. Went up to 40 because people liked it. Corona hit, it went to 4 because the casino shut. It went from 4 to 140, which is in 1 year, which is obviously a gigantic rise. And most people were saying the reason it was happening was because of me and this Davey Day Trader shtick I had going on. So I became very influential on Wall Street. I don't know how it happened, but
and rich, I assume. You had a piece of that.
Oh
right?
yeah, oh yeah. Well, I just bought a house in Miami. I'm doing well.
What are you doing with your money? Sincere question. Like, you make all this money, you don't
spend it.
You didn't grow up rich,
no,
right?
Middle class, average middle class, yeah.
So you make. I imagine when you were a kid, you didn't think you were going to be rich because you went into journalism.
Never in a million years did I. As I said in the beginning, I would have been happy making $60 grand a year.
Yeah.
I have more. I mean, I'm not like a Steve Cohen or any of these, but I have more money than I ever dreamed I'd have, and I spend it. I enjoy myself.
So what do you spend it? I mean,
houses, going out. I mean, I bought my parents a house. Whatever I want.
Have you enjoyed it?
Of course. How could you not?
No, because some people succeed and then it destroys them. They actually don't like succeeding.
No, I honestly, people could say this. Well, I've said this. If I lost all the money, I think I'd be the same. The only thing I'd miss is I don't fly I fly private now. I don't fly commercial. But other than that, I take it, leave it. I could do whatever. I didn't have it before. I have it now. But not having to go through security at an airport is like the greatest blessing of all time.
Yeah. What did you learn about Wall Street?
Well, I don't know that I learned anything that I didn't think before. I mean, it's designed to keep the rich rich, and the little guy struggles, which is a lot of the GameStop stuff. But there's
so you think that's baked in the cake?
I think that's baked in the cake. I think it's always been baked in the cake, sort of. I don't think there's necessarily a rhyme or reason why things go up or down, but the power is held in a very select few, and they can manipulate the market. It's very hard to win it as the little guy. I truly believe that.
It doesn't sound really like a market, because a market suggests that it responds to reality. If your product becomes more valuable, its share price rises.
Correct.
That's not what you're describing.
No, there may be some that is the case, but I truly don't believe that is the majority. I think there's underlying algorithms, charts, whatever, or bigger companies who can control a lot, control it. But yes, the market is not as fair as I guess the people who run it would like it to be. I just think it's the world's biggest casino. I really look at it that way, and you're playing roulette to a degree, except it's tilted in those in power's favor. I really believe that.
So how'd you get rich on it?
Well, I didn't really get rich just on that. I haven't done great on the day trading. The pen
Oh, you haven't? I should have asked you that.
Yeah, no, I've made some. The stock market's gone up. We got it at the right time. But, there's a lot more retail money in the stock market since Corona, because people are sitting around, didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And our crowd, my crowd, bros, however you want to describe them, they start leveling the playing field a little bit. But, there's not a surprise, I think, for the most part. If you go in the most affluent parts in the country, in the biggest houses in the country, and you ask them, what do you do for a living? It's almost always finance.
Always.
Yeah,
it's some kind of finance. That's
correct.
right.
Yeah.
It's not, I made this new product that everyone loves.
Correct. Yes. And that's no accident. That's no accident at all.
What do you think of that?
I mean, it's frustrating.
I mean, you grew up in Boston when you're about 40-ish in that range. There was still real manufacturing. I mean, they had like actual companies, like
100%.
Gillette, for example. Not everybody worked just with numbers.
No, and Al, it's a different thing. Finance is how you make money. Even for me, I've done Barstool for 20 years. I didn't see what I would consider even in I think the finance world, people look at me and say, he's not rich. Like, I consider myself very well off, but in the finance world, I don't think so. But it took finance and stocks for me to really make it to that next level. Now, obviously, that's not everybody, but, how's Elon Musk making all his money? It's not necessarily just because of Tesla. It's the stock. It's finance. Everything's finance.
Does that worry you?
In what way?
Do you think that's good for a country to allocate its money that way, that the richest people aren't necessarily creating the best things? They're just the best at the game?
Yeah, it would worry, but I don't think that's like a new development. I think that's current, and it shouldn't necessarily be that way, but that's how it's been since I've been aware of money, really. Yeah. I mean, if you go back like the movie Wall Street and things like these aren't new developments. It changes, it shifts, whatever it may be, but that's how it's been for a long time. No, I wouldn't say it's right, but that's how it's been.
Yeah.
And how do you fix it? I don't really know.
I don't either. What are you going to do next?
So my future is for sure trying to expand the Barstool gambling. I've said this many times. I'm lucky we have a legalized vice that I'm at the forefront of. That's what gambling is, just like marijuana. So it's right time, right place. And if we can do what I hope we can do with Barstool, that'll be my swan song, sort of, next 4 or 5 years, really building this thing into an empire.
You'll be a young man in 4 or 5 years.
Uh-huh. So you're saying, what do I do then?
Yeah, kinda.
A lot of golf, a lot of horse racing. I love horse racing. Beaches, relaxing. People say that. They're like, you have to work. You're born to work. You won't be able to go away.
Yeah.
I've always said, I could turn into a cloud of smoke and be gone and enjoy my life.
If somebody gave you $100 million or whatever your number is.
And I'm clear?
Yeah.
Clear. See ya. Bye.
How long do you think that would last?
Forever. If you can't make 100 million last, I don't know what you do.
No, but how long do you think your kind of satisfaction would last?
I've never had that, I've never had that openness. I think it could last a very long time. Travel, I don't know. You're giving me a skeptical
look. Yeah, there's no chance. There's no chance.
I think I could. Uh-huh. I really do. Like, I like eating at nice restaurants. I like pretty girls. I like horse racing. I think all those things could keep me pretty occupied.
So what, but look, I'll end on this, but let's just take your long-running and highly amusing and instructive feud with Roger Goodell.
Right.
Okay. So I'll ask you the macro question first, and then I hope you fill in the details. Could you live without tossing a grenade into Roger Goodell HQ every day?
I could still do that, I think. Couldn't I? Couldn't I just be myself?
That's not golfing or sitting on the beach.
Well, I could be in between holes and be like, all right, I'm just going to tweet this at Roger Goodell. You know,
What tell us about Roger Goodell. Where does that stand?
You know, he's got to be one of the least self-aware humans of all time. He really does. So we have a long-standing feud with him that started basically as a joke, for lack of a better word. So I'm a Patriot fan. Tom Brady obviously is a Patriot. And Deflategate, when he deflated the footballs, we were all in New England, and he got suspended for 4 games. He got suspended. Nobody knew this case more than I did. Goodell had no proof. He didn't prove anything. He changed the rules. He was out to get him for whatever reason. So myself, 3 other employees handcuffed ourselves to each other in NFL headquarters, demanding to speak to Goodell. We had Brady paraphernalia on. I had 1-2, in eye black on my face, and we got a night in jail for trespassing. From that point on, it escalated and escalated, a series of events culminating in me getting dragged out of the Super Bowl in handcuffs, even though I bought tickets, because we weren't allowed the Super Bowl from that event. It went to Corona, where Roger Goodell then was trying to raise money for frontline workers and said, I will let someone watch a football game with me in my basement in Maine. The highest bidder wins. I bid $250,000. I won the bid. He denied it, gave me the money back. I don't think he ever gave the money to the frontline workers. And on it goes.
You paid $250,000 to watch football with Roger Goodell.
Just to show up and do it. Now, if he, at any point in this 5-year saga, acknowledged our existence, poked a little bit of fun at it, it'd be done. He'd actually sort of win. Ironically, he has given us this outsider, renegade vibe that's helped us very much and made us seem like, it's Roger Goodell in the NFL versus little old Barstool, even as we've gotten bigger. But he's an idiot. The fact that he doesn't have one guy who's just shake his hand is done.
So you've never even talked to him?
Never talked to him. Never gotten close to him. We're barred. We are literally banned from every single NFL event. After the Patriots won the Super Bowl, I watched it in a holding cell. I went to the Patriots party after, and they tried to kick me out of that. And it was a Patriot event, so all these fans...
You got out of the holding cell and went to the party?
Of course. They walked me out in handcuffs. The Patriots won. I went to the party, given tickets by the Crafts who own the team, and their NFL security tried to kick me out of the hotel. So many people gathered around, security, NFL, had to call the Crafts. And they said, what do you want to do here? I said, who do you got? They said, Dave. They go, he stays. Jonathan Kraft has signed the wall of our office, the only news organization that gets it right 100% of the time. So it's just, if honestly, if Roger Goodell, somebody just if you befriend them, make a joke, it's done, but he doesn't do it. He takes it.
You're
so
not
serious.
describing a genius here.
No, an absolute idiot, a PR idiot, and he is a PR idiot. There's things he's done in the NFL, and we ride him, whether it be concussions, the way he's handled women's abuse, anything. You want to talk about a guy who blows in the wind of public opinion? He's number one. I mean, the things he's done. Granted, it's a monopoly, and they make all this money, but he is a true idiot in the way he handles controversy.
Well, how did he get so rich? What does he make a year?
40 mil. He's the most overpaid human of all time. But in my mind, he may be an overpaid punching bag because he does work for a group of powerful men, and every controversy, everything that's handled that goes bad, he gets blamed. Maybe there's more to it, but he's basically a $40 million punching bag for when things go wrong.
You think you could get one for $6 million?
You would think so. Again, I would say his job, professional athletes. I can't throw a baseball 100. I can't run a 4.2 40. There's lots of guys who can do what he does. He's not uniquely smart. He's just kept the train on the tracks. He came from a good family, got in at the right point, and somehow got the job. But he's, is he some super genius? No. The NFL, has proven that the NFL is virtually unstoppable unless concussions and that thing take it down.
So you're describing a human metaphor for like a lot of people in this country.
To a degree, yes.
Amazing. Dave Portnoy, when you announce for president, I hope you'll do it on our show.
Yeah, if that ever happens.
From the golf course. It was great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Show's called Tucker Carlson Today, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Fox Nation. And of course, we'll see you every weeknight, 8 p.m. on the News Channel.